Hi, I'm Dan Aubuchon, and welcome back to the Joy of Tennis Teaching. About 3 episodes ago, it was just before the BNP tournament was coming to Indian Wells, and I said it was going to be a very hectic and exciting couple of weeks, as the entire world of professional tennis was going to be within 2 miles of my house. Well, it turned out to be even more exciting and busy and fun than I had anticipated. So I want to run down a few things from the BNP, and then we're going to talk about a couple of other topics. First of all, I am incredibly grateful to all of the visitors I had here at my house. We've got a lot of views on the 6 PBI teaching veterans that were here, and what you don't know is that video was just a small part of a really fun evening with a lot of laughs, a lot of old stories, and just I am incredibly appreciative of those good friends. I want to thank Frank Fanning. I hope Frank sees this, for coming to visit me and catching me up on everything that's going on in his career, and also for taking the time to do what I think is going to be a very valuable video that I'm going to talk about a little bit more. To Fred and Janet, thank you so much for visiting. These are 2 former PBI people that were great friends, and who I used to visit quite regularly on my cross-country drives. I hadn't seen them in quite a while, and it was just a great day. They came and spent a lot of time. We had a delicious lunch, and again, lots of stories and lots of laughs. My student Jeff Artoon from Bighorn came to visit me while Fred and Janet were here, bringing my dog Sherlock. So it was all in all just a wonderful time to have all these visitors. I also made it back to the tournament for first time since 2019. That was a special day, and I want to thank Reese, my co-producer on these videos and caretaker and helper, for making it possible for me to go to the tournament. One of the interesting things that happened within the first half hour that we were at the tournament site was I ran into a Takaho family, and we spent a lot of time catching up, and I hope Danny Feinblum and his sister and parents get a look at this video, but it was great to catch up, and it was really very touching to me as a teacher that Danny described a serving lesson that I gave to him that had to have happened 10 to 15 years ago. And he still described the drills that we did and everything. So as a tennis teacher, you always wonder, are the students going to remember? Is this going to have had an impact on them? And it was fun for me to see that they did. I believe that the tournament at Indian Wells is the finest professional tennis tournament in the world. I've had a chance to travel to many, many tournaments, and the players regularly vote this the best, and I think it's the best for the fans. And although we had unusually cool weather for this year's tournament, and clouds and even some rainouts, or rain delays I should say, it was a spectacular tournament and broke records again. Over 493,000 people were paid attendance, and then there's umpteen thousand who get in on passes or as guests and stuff. So almost 500,000 people were on the grounds of that tournament during these 10 days. I consider myself very lucky to have attended this tournament so many times in the past, and it was great to get back there after having missed it for a few years. Okay, I apologize for the notes, but I don't want to leave anything out today. I worked on this one a lot. I mentioned Frank Fanning's interesting interview that we did, And Frank and I discussed it for a whole lot. And one of the things, since I've gone through my health things and basically been a recluse since March of 2020, pretty much, there's been a major change in the tennis industry during that time. It's no longer the tennis industry. It's now the racket sports industry. The amazing rapid growth of pickleball, the growth of padel, in certain areas of the country, platform tennis. There's a lot of different things. The tennis director is no longer a viable career. Now what you have to be is a racket sports director. And I was aware of that from reading the publications and seeing the news, but it didn't really hit me until Frank and I spent time together, what a major change that has been in the industry. So it's made me think about a lot of things in this training and what we're going to do with this channel in the future. The latest issue of Racket Sports Industry had some very, very interesting statistics. The Physical Activity Council does annual surveys where they measure the participation levels. Tennis for the fourth or fifth year in a row has increased, but it was a very small increase. It was a little over 1% increase. It went up to about 23.8 million people. Just under 24 million people played tennis in the United States in the last year. There were 4.8 million new people that tried tennis for the first time, but the sport, according to the Physical Activity Council, lost 4.6 million people. So that, again, that's why it's increasing so slowly and so small. By comparison, if you look at pickleball started with about 8 million people a year ago, and that was rapidly up from just 3 or 4 million people the year before that. And this year it's like 13.6 million. So pickleball is growing at a pretty impressive rate. But it's still a much smaller sport than tennis. And although Tennis Channel is launching the pickleball channel and there's a little more pickleball on TV, I don't ever see pickleball being the big sport that tennis is internationally or in the US. I don't think you're ever going to have 500,000 people over a 2-week period attending a pickleball event. The sport's just not that interesting, not that big. It's a great participation sport. It's a great social sport. It's a supremely important sport if you're working in a club or a resort or a tennis program, or I should try to get that right, in a racket sports program. Pickleball is going to keep growing. Pickleball is here to stay. I'm not anti-pickleball like many old-timers in tennis are. But I think that we're overinflating the value of pickleball, comparing it to tennis. Both can coexist. One of the things Frank told me, and I won't say the name because I don't think I can remember it properly, but there was a very important person in the tennis world who was telling a story about he couldn't get his son to play tennis, no matter how much he encouraged him. But his son got involved in pickleball and really liked pickleball. And now after playing pickleball for a while, he's asked his dad, could he try tennis? So I think it's true that pickleball can be an introduction to racket or paddle sports. And for those who master pickleball or advance in it, and they want to try a more challenging sport that has more to it, they'll go to tennis. But the biggest point I want to make about this whole tennis thing with the size of the sport and the growth and then loss of players is it's up to you, the tennis teaching pro. I'm a product of the 1970s tennis boom. In the 1970s, I've read some estimates that there were over 19 to 20 million people that took up the game of tennis back then. Many of them, probably most of them, didn't stay with it. And that's the fault of the teachers. I've always believed that the tennis boom was killed by so-called tennis pros. Back in the 70s, the joke, and it wasn't far off, was that anybody with a basket of balls and a tan could call themselves a tennis pro. There's been great growth in the racket sports industry for certification. And I'm glad to see that pickleball, I know a lot of my good friends, some of those people on that couch have become certified pickleball instructors. And I know a lot of my friends are saying they're teaching as much pickleball as tennis now. But for you, the tennis teacher, what I really hope that you will do is learn from pickleball. The reason pickleball is growing so much is it's really easy to learn and it's really social. That's what we have to bring back to tennis. One of the reasons I was successful up at Bighorn, and we talked about this, is that I made it very easy for players to participate, and I made it very social. And now I owe at least 50% of the credit for the Bighorn program growing to the stronger players being willing to play with and help out the newer players, the weaker players. That's what built the Bighorn tennis program. Now pickleball is all the rage and it's growing like crazy. The tennis courts have gone down, and the new racket sports people at Bighorn, according to my students, they've kind of let the social part of tennis go away. So the only people that are playing tennis are the hardcore people that love tennis. And pickleball has become the big social thing. Please, tennis coaches, make tennis easier to learn. You can do it. You can get it. The goal shouldn't be to create perfect strokes with your new players. The goal should be to hook them on the joy of tennis. Hook them on how much fun it is to learn the game. Hook them on the way that they can continuously improve for as long as they can. There was a fascinating interview in the last two issues of Racket Sports Industry magazine. Half the interview 2 months ago and half the interview in the recent issue. And it was Brian Dillman, the executive director of the USPTA, and Dan Santorum, the executive director of the PTR. Now, I've known Dan for over 30 years. And I haven't met Brian yet, but I'm hoping to talk to him sometime in the future. But both of them talked about the needs for the racket sports industry and how important certification is. And so I think it's become a much more professional industry now than it was back in the 70s and 80s and even the early 90s. So I would encourage all of you that are in the racket sports industry to participate, to get involved, get certified. Those are important things, and I think a lot of times, especially here in the U.S., there's an estimate that maybe half the tennis teachers in the country are not certified, and that hurts the industry. That makes the jobs less professional. It allows owners and managers to pay less. I hope that all of you younger people in this industry will work hard to get involved and raise the professional standards of the industry. So that's my soapbox, and it caused me a lot of contemplation over the last week or so about the future of this channel. Should I change it to the joy of the racket sports industry? Because it is a subject I care about and I want to occasionally revisit. But the original goal of this channel was to share the knowledge that I had developed over 50 years about teaching, and teaching tennis specifically, because I've done that for 50 years. But at my heart, I'm a teacher. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I've taught juggling to 100 kids at camp during a rain delay in the big gym. I could teach darts. I could teach so many things. I love teaching. One of the things that Peter Burwash once said about me is he always could tell when I was excited about things because I was learning new things that I could share with my students. So the name is not going to change right away on this, but the focus of this channel and in the future is going to get back to the joy of teaching. And we'll still be using tennis as an example for most of our teaching, but I hope we'll expand this to teaching to all people, because all of us end up being teachers. We teach our children, we teach our friends, we teach our coworkers. So I hope that that will become the focus of this channel in the future, and I look forward to hearing from you all about any ideas that you have for the future direction of this channel. I hope you got something out of today's episode. To me, it was important to kind of summarize the last 2 weeks and express my gratitude and share some of the information that I learned personally in this last 2 weeks. So let's get out there and enjoy teaching. Thank you, and see you next time.